Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Scott Drever. I'm President and CEO of Silvercrest Mines. And this is our annual general meeting, which I think we have some interesting things to share with you. In terms of the format of the meeting, we'll do the business part first, and then do a business or a presentation to update you on a number of things that we're dealing with. Perhaps a few introductions before we move on to the business part of it. We have a number of directors here today. Graham Thody is here in the back row. I'm looking for the rest. Ross Glanville is back there, and Barney Magnuson is here, and George Saunders sends his regrets. He wasn't able to attend today. In terms of Silvercrest management, I've introduced myself. I have Eric Fear as our Chief Operating Officer. Barney Magnuson is our Chief Financial Officer. We have Brent McFarland someplace. There he is, our Vice President of Operations. Jed
Jed Thomas, please. That's just exploration.
I'm going to blame that on my advancing years.
I'm going to stand up here.
And Salvador Aguayos, our country manager for Mexico. There is a slide. Oh, I'll get to that later on. That'll bail me out on that faux pas. I'm sorry, Jed. I think we'll proceed with, and I have Bernie Poznansky as well as our corporate secretary. We'll proceed with the business part of it, and I'll ask Bernie to chair the business part of the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Scott. This shouldn't take too long, though there is some special resolution matters which will take a few extra minutes. First item of business is to appoint the secretary for the meeting, and I will appoint myself as secretary. Thank you very much. And I will appoint David Baines, who is present from Computershare, as a scrutineer for the meeting. The meeting was convened for the purpose set forth in the notice of meeting, which I have been provided with and which is dated May 28, 2012. The notice of meeting confirms that the form of proxy, the notice and information circular, and the reply envelope were mailed to the shareholders of the company. As notice has been provided, I will direct the secretary, which is me, to append the notice to the minutes of the meeting. I have a statutory declaration as well. Sorry, I have the scrutineer's interim report on the quorum requirements. We have a total of 78 shareholders represented in person or by proxy at this meeting, for a total of 35,866,257 shares. This represents 39.97% of the outstanding shares of the company. As a quorum for meeting purposes is 2 persons present in person or by proxy, representing not less than 5% of the outstanding shares, we have a quorum present. As notice was properly given, and as we have a quorum present, the meeting is duly constituted for the conduct of business. As a preliminary matter, in terms of voting, voting on the first 3 items of business will be by way of show of hands, as less than 5% of the votes cast at this meeting are cast by proxy against those resolutions. However, on resolution number 4, which is the approval of the stock option plan, as more than 5% of the votes cast were cast against the resolution, I will call for a poll by ballot. And I would ask that the scrutineer perhaps distribute in advance the ballot for resolution number 4, which is the approval of the stock option plan. David, if you might do that. Thank you. Please, I'll ask you to vote your ballot when we call for the vote, and then the results of the ballot will be counted after the ballot is taken. The first item of business of the meeting is to receive and accept the annual audited financial statements for the company for the year ended December 31, 2012. These were previously mailed to the shareholders as required. Is there any discussion arising on the annual financial statements? If there's none, I'll declare them presented and received. There's no need to vote on that. The next item of business is the election of directors. I'll direct your attention to page 4 of the information circular. And management's slate, which has been nominated for election as directors, are comprised of Messrs. Scott Drever, Ross Glanville, Barney Magnuson, George Sanders, and Graham Thody. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I'll declare nominations closed. And in order to expedite the voting for election of directors, I'll move as chair that the shareholders authorize the election of the 5 nominees by a single resolution. If there's no discussion on that motion, would all in favor please raise one hand? Any votes opposed? None. The motion carries. Accordingly, I will now move as chair that the 5 nominees which I've just named be elected as directors of the company. I would like someone to second that resolution. Mr. Magnuson, thank you. Is there any discussion on that resolution, on that motion? If there's none, would all in favor please raise one hand? And any votes withheld? There being none, I declare that the motion carries, and Messrs. Drever, Glanville, Magnuson, Sanders, and Thody are hereby elected to the Board of Directors for the ensuing year. It's easier when you can read from a list. The next item of business is the appointment of the auditors for the ensuing year. Davidson and Company Chartered Accountants, which have been the auditor for the company for the past year, are proposed by management to be appointed as auditor for the next year. Would someone move that resolution, please? Mr. Magnuson, and I'll take a second, Mr. Drever. Is there any discussion on that motion? If there's none, would all in favor please raise one hand? And any votes withheld? There being none, the motion carries unanimously. The next item of business, and it's the only item of special business, is a resolution to confirm and approve the company's stock option plan. The company has what's colloquially known as a 10% rolling stock option plan under the provisions of the TSX Venture Exchange. And because it has this form of plan, we're required to obtain shareholders' approval and confirmation of the plan at each annual general meeting. So in other words, once a year. Though it's special business, this does constitute an ordinary resolution. And so I've asked that a vote be taken by ballot. I will move that an ordinary resolution to confirm and approve the stock option plan in the form of the resolution set forth on page 23 of the information circular for this meeting be passed. And I'll formally present the resolution to you. Be it resolved that an ordinary resolution that the company's stock option plan previously approved by the shareholders of the company is hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed, and that the Board of Directors of the company be authorized to make any changes thereto as may be required by the TSX Venture Exchange. Would someone move that resolution? Mr. Thody, and a seconder, Mr. Magnuson. Is there any discussions or are there any questions on the motion? If there are none, I'll request that the ballots be distributed. And there's the result. Okay, very good, thank you. Not much room here with the computer on the podium. My tummy's not quite big enough to hold the paper up. I have the results of the ballot. Computershare in their efficient way have already got our answers for us. Voted in favor of the motion was 14,778,933 shares. Voted against the motion, 10,404,346 shares. So the motion passes by a margin by a vote of 58.69% to 41.31%. Congratulations. That completes the formal business for the meeting. Is there any other a matter of a formal nature that any shareholder would like to raise? If there's none, I believe the company has a presentation to show you, and I'll hand the meeting back to Mr. Drever, and I'll declare the formal part of the meeting concluded. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bernie. Now comes the fun part to tell you what we've been doing for the last year or so and where we're going in the next year or so. The first slide really gives you a sense of where we are. In 2011, we became officially a producing company when we declared commercial production. We do have a proven management in place, except for the CEO, who has a memory lapse on names. We've achieved positive cash flow almost from the outset of the operation at Santa Elena, and that is moving forward quite nicely, and our projections are for the same to come. We have strong earnings growth, and we have an expansion plan that should double our production over the next 18 months to 2 years. The disclaimer, of course, just cautions you not to rely on anything I say or any of the people following me have to say. In terms of our management group, I'll leave you to some of the details. Myself and Barney Magnuson and Eric were the initial developers of the company, the founders of the company, and we have added a couple of gentlemen as well to the team as we grow. We're supported by a strong independent board of directors. There's an addition to this slide, the 255 years up in the corner there. That used to be about 110 years. And I said to the guys, they were crediting me with over half of the 110. So I said, please go out and hire some qualified people so that I can contribute less than 50% of the experience level. But we do really have a good operating team. We've got a good management team. We worked well together, and I think you'll see it in Eric's presentation how much we've developed over the last year and what we have on our plate in terms of growth. That just gives you a sense of where we are from a cash point of view. We have about $36 million in the treasury, depending on what day you pick to look at the bank accounts. Last year we did 14 cents a share in cash flow and 7 cents a share in earnings. We produced about 1.7 million ounces of silver equivalent. And in this case, and when Eric's talking also about Santa Elena, when we do equivalents, it's a conversion of gold into silver at usually a ratio of about 50 to 1, in some cases 55 to 1. So there's nothing else in that equivalent other than gold and silver. We've established a strong resource base at Santa Elena. We're in the process of expanding that. And we have a new discovery at Santa Elena that is adding to that resource base in leaps and bounds with every drill hole that we do. Just a few things corporately. We've achieved what we've achieved, which principally is being in production, and have issued less than 90 million shares, which if you look around the TSX Venture, that's a pretty low number. And even on a fully diluted basis, which takes in options and warrants that are outstanding, we're under 100 million. So again, our share structure is fairly tight, and we do whatever we can to keep that share structure under control. The principals of the company, Magnuson and Fear and myself, are still substantial shareholders, and I think if you tally up our stock positions and those of the independent directors, we're in the order of 10%, perhaps just a little under, of the fully diluted position. So we all have a vested interest in this process of creating value for shareholders. Our monthly volume has been pretty good. We've taken a hit. It was probably up closer to $400,000 early in the year, or 400,000 shares a day rather. It's along with a lot of the market in general has taken a bit of a hit. as our share price has in the, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. This gives you a sense of where we are. As I said, we started commercial production. I think we declared commercial production at the end of the first quarter last year, and these give you the comparisons on a quarterly, quarter over quarter, starting in the second quarter of last year and up to the first quarter of this year. So you can see we've had considerable growth, and as expected, we're starting to level off there in a steady state in the fourth quarter. Going forward, the production in a silver equivalent basis will be relatively the same. There will be a little variance in what makes up that equivalency in terms of the gold-silver ratio. The financial performance tied to that production scenario, you can see this gives the cash flow from operations and mining operating earnings, and the revenue is reported. The revenue reported being the tall ones. In the first, and you can see there again as well, in all cases, we've had a good steady growth, and if metal prices stick where they are, we'll be able to continue on that pattern. The bottom slide just gives you an indication. We did have a debt facilities with Macquarie Bank that we used to finance the construction of the Santa Elena mine. I think it was $12.5 million initially, and we paid that out at the end of last year, and so we are debt-free at this moment. That's probably all I have to say on from a general corporate sense. I'll turn it over to Eric Fier now and let him lead you through the operations in a little more detail and talk about our expansion plan and the things that we have coming up for the rest of the year. Eric?
Thanks, Scott. Just to reiterate, this is a great success story in SilverCrest. When we first, Barney, Scott and I sat down at a little table in 2003 in Vancouver here, and we decided, okay, what kind of company do we want to form? The market was looking for a silver company. That's what we created. And our mission statement at that time was to get into production and keep looking for monster deposits to create value for our shareholders. And I'm proud to say today we're there. So it's been a great ride, and everybody in this room can attribute to that success and continued success. So on to the operations. Santa Elena is our flagship operation. It's located about a 2-hour drive. Unless you're driving with Salvador Aguayo, it could be a little bit quicker, okay? But he's a great driver, and that's one of his qualities of being a country manager and VP of corporate development in Mexico. He's a great driver. I'll just say that. Just don't blink. There you go. So you drive on the road, as you can see here from Hermosillo in the lower left-hand corner there, and you'll drive up to Banamichi, and that's a nice little community. We're in the Rio Sonoran Valley, which is a beautiful valley, and the community of Banamichi has about 1,300 people in it, and there's several of these communities along the way that are anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 people. And that gives us opportunity for labor in the area. We've had a lot of success there. We've done a lot of training, and a lot of that training's been credited to Brent McFarlane, who's here today, and spent a lot of time. These people a year to 2 years ago were out working in fields, and now they're running crushers, leach pads, and Merrill-Crowe plant at site. So there's a lot of success that we've had. We're currently employing about 70% locally, and that was the target that I had in my mind when we first started construction. So I'm happy to say we've achieved that. So it's easy to get there. I can fly out of Vancouver in the morning and be out at site at Santa Elena in the evening, which is great when you're trying to manage these things. So That was part of our mission statement too, and it continues to be for Silvercrest, is make things simple. So we're not way up in the Sierra Madre where it takes you 3 days to get to the mine site. We're right off the highway, great infrastructure, great access. Just to note too that La Jolla, which is our new discovery, which we made last year, is not a satellite deposit of Santa Elena. So a lot of people ask that. There's about 900 kilometers between the two. So here's a few quick slides that you can see. The production. We are considered to be a low-cost producer. A lot of that's attributable to the grade that we have. Our grade at Santa Elena, if you want to look at gold equivalents or silver equivalents, could be 5 to 10 times higher than our peer group on an open pit heap leach scenario. So our peer group in that realm is Timmins, Arico at El Chinate, Argonaut at Castillo in Durango. All these guys are running material onto their leach pads that are running 0.3 to 0.8 grams per ton on the gold side. If you look at ours at a gold equivalency, we're doing 2.5 to 3 grams per ton. And therefore, we are in a fast pace of trying to get a mill constructed on site. And Brent's doing a great job trying to drive that cattle herd to try to get us into production on the mill site as soon as possible to create more value. And that's part of the expansion plan that I'll discuss coming up here. So you can see our crusher there. It's a 3-stage crusher. We're crushing to minus 3/8 inch, 100%. And that's trucked out to the leach pad right now. And you look in the lower left-hand corner there, that's the leach pad with the Merrill-Crowe and laboratory in the background with the ponds. We're currently in expansion of the leach pad, which is, if I can have your pointer there, Scott. Thank you. Yeah. So we're expanding this portion of the leach pad right now, which we call phase 2. That will take up to 1.25 million tons. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brent. Is that, yeah. So that'll top off. We'll finish the phase 1 area and then move on to the phase 2 area. And the mill that we're looking at constructing and the plan is just off the photo here, just off to the left. So it's very conveniently located. This is very important for our expansion plan because the material that's on the leach pad is actually going to get reprocessed through the mill because there's a lot of value that's remaining. The leach pad recovery rates on the gold sides about from a 300-day leach cycle is 67% gold and about 34% silver. So you're leaving, especially on the silver side, a lot of silver out on the leach pad. We feel that there's going to be a net value at current metal prices on the leach pad of over $100 million that can be recovered through the mill when we put it on. And the last photo, as you can see here, pouring doré. Right now, we're averaging about 100 ounces of gold per day and 1,500 ounces of silver per day in our production. And we are currently working on a new mine plan and optimization of that plan to try to guarantee us that same rate for the rest of the year. We'll be discussing that further as senior management moving forward. Some production statistics, as you can see. I'll just focus on the red stuff there. In first quarter, 661,000 ounces of gold, silver equivalent was produced. Keep in mind when I'm talking silver equivalency, back to Scott's statement, it's a mix of gold and silver. From a value standpoint, we are a gold producer right now, but we are trending into being more of a silver producer once we have the mill in and we're underground. It's the nature of the deposit, and you'll get higher recovery through the mill on the silver side, which makes us more of a silver producer at that time. So you can see our production rates through the crusher. We designed the crusher to be 2,500 ton per day, so we're well above that. I called up Brent about a week ago and I said, we just processed 5,000 tons through the crusher. he says, well, we're going to try to slow that down a little bit. we don't want to kill the crusher prematurely. So we're thinking achievable is 3,000 ton per day to 4,000 ton per day through the crusher now. So, and we got a respectable grade, as I said. You can see that our numbers there. So on to the expansion of Santa Elena. This is several pronged approach to get into the expansion mode. The first is to do a decline. We started this decline in January of this year, and we're currently at about 400 meters down the decline. We're anticipating to drive about 1,500 meters. We call it phase one for this year, and we'll just continue that on through next year. We need to set up underground production from Santa Elena by mid-2014 is what our schedules are showing right now. So that's the target for the underground. Also along with that is to construct a nominal 3,000 ton per day mill. And that is being kicked off right now. We have detailed engineering group out of Australia called Global Resources Engineering Services, GRES, out of Brisbane. And they are our detailed engineers. We'll also be looking at some of their input on the construction management side moving forward. We are currently working on general site plans and details of that engineering. Also along with that, we're currently looking at purchasing a used mill, and I hope to secure this sometime in the very close future, and that will be able to accelerate this schedule. Right now we're looking at kicking off the mill in January of 2014. With a lot of success and luck and hard work on Brent McFarland's part, we might be able to accelerate that. But I'm just telling the public right now that we're shooting for the January 2014. As you can see, part of that plan too is to get mill feed from the open pit. This is where we have a license to print money. It really makes a lot of money if we can put part of the open pit into the mill. Therefore, the acceleration of building the mill is a priority from a cash flow standpoint. Cruz de Mayo, it's a small satellite deposit. We're just completing and finishing up a pre-feasibility study on that to convert resources to reserves and put it into our life of mine plan. I would anticipate a higher grade portion of that will be shipped to the mill at Santa Elena. It's pretty far. It's over 100 kilometers to ship that, so you got to take that into consideration for the costs. And then there will be a low-grade stockpile that'll sit at Santa Elena waiting for silver prices to move up, and then we can ship it to the mill. And like I said, the reprocessing of the leach pad is critical also from a strategic planning standpoint and a cash flow standpoint for us. So our hope, we're looking at a CapEx of the expansion of 65 million plus some contingency probably there over the next 24 months. That's spread out over time. We're looking at financing most of that through our cash flow and bank account right now. If we get low in the bank account, we will look at a financing, and we're looking at options right now on the equity and the debt side. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to finance us on the debt side, so we're looking at those opportunities, and we may pull the trigger on that anytime between now and the end of the year, which will fill up our bank account, and we'll be able to use that toward the expansion plan. So our target is to try to double our production from a silver equivalency standpoint by 2014. This gives you a snapshot of the long section of the deposit itself. You're looking north here at the face of it. So as you can see, there is the open pit coming down. Right now we're mining at this level here. So we're bringing the pit down, and this is where we're creating the underground access. The red area is the highest grade material that we're targeting for production. These are not structures on this side. This is a structure here It's a little bit further out. It's a range front fault for you geologists in the audience. And this is just an effect of the model. We see a lot of potential to continue to expand the resource off to the right or to the east and to depth. There's also quite a bit of potential in this area for higher grade, more limited, we call them clavaricos or chutes. And even this pink area in here has a lot of opportunity that's just not drilled yet. So Jed Thomas, I got the last name right there, we'll be taking a look at a program that will do probably some infill drilling just below the pit and extend potential opportunities for underground. Scott showed you the earlier slide that showed the production from where we're at right now. This is the production of the expansion, and this includes the open pit, mill, heap leach, Cruz de Mayo, etc. So we're currently here. We hope to have about the same production next year, and then this is the jump with the mill, and then continuation of that. The yellow is the gold portion and gray is the silver, so you can see we're becoming more of a silver producer by 2014. And what the conceptual plan is the Santa Elena Deep, which is that area that I just showed you off to the right or to the east as we drill there, is to expand that and fill in these areas for further production. And also La Jolla, that could be out 4 to 5 years from now for potential development. La Jolla is a much larger project than Santa Elena. From a production standpoint, it could be 5 to 10 times more production throughput from a mill. From an ounce standpoint, it could be anywhere from 10 to 20 million ounces of silver equivalent per year. So it's a significant project as we continue to work on that. It's more of an earlier stage inferred resource expansion, and Jed's doing a good job of working on that and creating more value for our shareholders. So in summary, we're looking at strong cash flow for the rest of the year into next year, and the production profile is to double that cash flow by 2014. We're looking at continuing to be one of the lowest cost producers of metal in Mexico. The production expansion is underway, resource expansion. With a lot of success, we could look at 50 to 100% increase in Santa Elena and La Jolla toward the end of the year in our underground resources at Santa Elena and the overall resource at La Jolla. And these are the news that's coming out over the rest of the year. Our continual quarterly production and financial statements, the expansion news, the exploration results moving Santa Elena forward and La Jolla forward, and the new resource statements toward the end of this year. Now we got a little bit of time here. We have just finished doing a video on La Jolla. You noticed I didn't talk and show you figures of La Jolla here, but I do have a video that pretty much explains it, and hope you enjoyed that. SilverCrest is an operating company now in Mexico. As we grow Santa Elena and the expansion plan, the next part of the growth pattern is La Jolla. Initially, when I came out in 2010 and looked at the project along with my geologic team, we were looking at a target that was potentially 30 to 50 million ounces of silver. Since then, we've drilled, we've looked at the historic database. It's much larger than that. Lower grade, but potentially very large open pitable and mineable resource. We have a lot more work to do before we get to that point, but that's the direction that we're moving in right now. We're right in the middle of the main mineralized trend, and right over my left shoulder here is the drill pad for hole 17, which was our biggest hit to date. Approximately 200 meters of 90 to 100 grams per ton silver equivalent. Hole 20 also hit a significant interval of mineralization as it drilled below where we're standing here. So right now, this is our best location for a potential open pit. Mineralization right at the surface. You got mantos and structures 30 to 50 meters wide. Strong mineralization here. We're currently standing on the top of Cerro Coloradito, and in my background you can see La Jolla. A year ago, you would see very few of these roads. We feel that the next success story here at La Jolla will be drilling to the south. We expect to do that over the next 2 to 3 months. I'm currently standing at the collar of one of the drill holes that Lewisman had completed in the early 2000s. I knew some general information that they'd hit a few high-grade intercepts. But what made it most interesting is Lewisman got taken over by Goldcorp. So I walked in the door at Goldcorp. They gave me access to all of that information. Wow. With their permission, we recut that core and reanalyzed it and announced a discovery at Coloradito before Silvercrest has even started drilling any holes here. If you look over on the walls here, this is all very fractured. This is the kind of thing that you want to see when you're out in the field looking at these things. Boots on the ground, drill holes, money spent in the ground. We're setting up a war chest through the production that we are having at Santa Elena and the expansion plan. We'll be able to use part or most of that money to develop La Jolla into what we think is going to be a mine in the future. We're expanding the Santa Elena project. We're looking for a double in production there, from a junior silver gold producer to a mid-tier silver gold producer by 2014. We're looking for the potential to double the resource at La Jolla, which would be a significant win and a major discovery for Silvercrest. And we're also looking at the potential to double our resource at Santa Elena underground, which would extend our mine life and give additional growth potential to an already great story in Silvercrest. Okay, I need to thank a couple people here. One is Resource Intelligence, and Doug is here with us today for putting this video together, and he's been a critical part in our marketing team and moving Silvercrest forward. We do have several videos, and this video will be up on our website. And also to Salvador Aguayo, if you notice the music in the background, he was the guitar player. So this was one of our criteria when we started off in Mexico, is we only hired musicians. So we do have a great opportunity to have a musical quartet at Santa Elena and throughout Mexico. So thank you, and thank everybody here for your participation in our success. I'll turn it back over to Scott Drever.
Thanks, Eric. That was great. Any questions? Sir?
First of all, congratulations on how you're building a company. What is your present cost of production at Santa Elena, and what do you project that it will be when you get into the deep stuff?
I think our quarterly cost was $7 a silver equivalent ounce. The overall cost, I think, for the open pit phase was $8.20 silver equivalent ounce. And on the basis of the preliminary economic assessment that we did on the expansion plan, which included all the things that Eric talked about, I think it went to $9.70 an ounce of silver equivalent. So even with that incremental increase in operating cost due to the underground and the extra milling costs, we still got a substantial margin between that and our current prices. Anything else? Once again, we did a great job. No questions. Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. Appreciate it.